smoking behind me. Tom, can you hear me? Hey, we're going live.
And welcome to an exciting episode of The Energy That Surrounds Us. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined with my co-host, Michelle.
Hey, everyone.
So, as we know with the world, as it is, that things happen. And so, unfortunately, the guest that we had lined up tonight is unavailable, and so we have a backup guest joining us in about 20 minutes. So if you guys are willing to put up with Michelle and I for a little while, we have a really cool guest lined up to come in and talk with us. So with that being said, how are things with you, Michelle?
They're good. The weather's getting better. It's not like hot as Hades as much anymore. So it's good. In which you're feeling the same temperatures, but because we're not very far apart from each other.
No, we're
in fact,
not.
I'm in your town tonight. That's why we have a different background. Because I came into town to see my best friend Tom, and so I'm at his house out and camping out on his couch tonight.
Well,
got a lot of stuff to do in the city. So what about you? What have you been up to?
That's a loaded question right now.
That's true. That is true. You're getting ready for Fright Fest, right?
Fear Fest.
Yeah, Fear Fest.
Fear Fest, yes, and September 29th, 30th, and October 1st. It's a 3-day event, and I'll be guest speaking.
New Orleans?
It is in New Orleans. We have musical guests coming. We have a lot of guest speakers and presenters, vendors, food trucks. It's going to be a 3-day kind of paranormal party event.
Oh, wow. That sounds good. If I can get that grandbaby out fast enough, then I'll make it. But if I can even get tickets, I haven't even I don't know. Maybe I should reach out to them and say, hey, I got a grandkid coming. I would love to come, but, you know, will there still be tickets?
Well, you can get tickets at Eventbrite.
Yeah, but I don't want to buy them, and then the grandbaby's running late, and then I can't make it.
Yeah, that's true. But yes, Joanne, Howard Petrie is on top of the world, and actually, we have a surprise for you guys. Our guest is actually available, so let's bring her in.
Hello.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, guys.
Thanks
Oh my
for popping
gosh.
in. I know it was short notice.
No problem. I'm so sorry. So, but I'm happy to be here. And I had just jumped out of the shower, so I just like dried my hair real quick. So, hello.
Well, it looks lovely. So
I was going to say, if you didn't say anything, nobody would ever know that you had just quickly dried your hair.
And it's a lot of hair that
it does seem
can
thick,
relate, right?
very nice
got
and
the
lush.
same thing. You know.
I know. Yeah. I don't even try. Like I'll blow dry the underneath the nape, and then I'm just like, forget the rest, because my bangs will dry in 2 seconds. They're dry.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Super.
Yeah, that's
super
cool.
An interesting fact is, I actually met you, Michelle,
You're gonna
because you were on my friend Andy Decode's show.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I reached out to you and was like, yeah, I was trying to get you on the show, and then I found out what you do, and I was like, wow.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. A lot of times I have to fill in for people that, especially live shows. And tomorrow night I'm actually going to be on Coast to Coast.
Oh,
so
neat.
I'm pretty excited. I'm nervous about it, but excited about it. So
very exciting.
Yeah.
You got nothing to be worried about.
Oh, thanks. I mean, the good thing is there's no camera, so that takes a lot off. Yeah.
I know, because I actually did an interview with a gentleman who's on the Coast to Coast network, the same network, and yeah, it was all like audio, and it kind of threw me off because I'm so used to seeing and reacting to face and everything that I was like, this is different, but okay.
We'll go with it, right?
That's what you do. Go with the flow.
Go with the flow. Well, Michelle, I'm so glad you spell your name like mine.
Yes, we're special. We have 2 E's and 2 L's.
That's right.
Oh, Michelle, Robert Khalil of Typical Skeptic Podcast said to tell you, he says hello, and she's great.
Oh my gosh, hi.
Aw, how sweet.
Oh my God, I have to meet all you guys in person at some point. That would be really cool.
Well, are you in the New Orleans area?
No, Chicago.
Oh,
are you serious? Where in Chicago?
So I'm a little outside of Chicago, kind of by Northwestern University. That's not far from me.
Neat.
So,
are you from Chicago?
I was raised in Lansing, suburb of Chicago.
Lansing? Where's that?
On the south side.
Oh, that's why you have kind of a little southern accent, right?
Well, that, and I've been in Texas since 1984.
Okay.
Man, I can't even hear Michael's Texas accent. This is good for me. I'm actually thinking about my words to keep mine down.
Oh, really? Oh my God.
Yeah. You can hear my accent when I say one word in particular. I have not been able to lose my accent on, and that is soda.
Soda.
We call it pop.
Yeah.
People I always get these double looks. Like I'll go, can you pass me the pop? Well, I don't even drink it, but if I'm talking about pop, they're like, pop? Like, where are you from? I'm like, it's pop. Midwest. Pop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
And I keep telling people too, I was like, yeah, it's not pronounced pop, it's pop. It's like
Yeah,
there's a little emphasis in the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah, absolutely, for sure.
That is really cool. I didn't know you were from Chicago.
I'm shy girl. Yep,
Chi-town.
shy
Best town
town.
ever.
It's pretty good.
And I like Chicago. I used to go as a child. My uncle was stationed in Illinois, and they lived in Mascoutah, Missouri. So we would pop over to Chicago or do whatever. There was some train station there that I remember that was turned into like a mall. It was like an old shopping or an old train station. It was like magic for me. Like just
Old, oh, old, was it called Old Chicago?
man, it was a
Was it
long time ago.
downtown? Oh, was
Yeah,
it
I
an
mean, I'm talking.
amusement
I'm
park?
46, and I was probably 11 or 12 back then, so it's been a minute. It was when the museum was still in the arch and you could still go up.
Okay, okay, all right.
That kiss blowing earlier was for Jenny because I could actually see her message before it popped up. So any kind of
Okay.
weirdness, I was not, although I will throw out random love, but that was for Jenny. I just hadn't
Okay.
noticed it hadn't popped up yet.
Cool.
I was
That's
on one of the shows she was on earlier, so it was a blast. But anyway.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't send you my prep, but I don't know if what you know about what I do or anything like that on the side of publicity. I
Tell
guess
us.
I
Well,
can
We're
talk.
fascinated.
yeah,
I'll-
I know you have paranormal experiences from uh
So I
your
can
show
talk
with
about
Andy.
a couple things I can talk about. One is let's see. I could talk about I'm an associate producer of a new film coming out. It's a documentary on Bigfoot. So the first one is called Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, and everyone listening should go watch it. I think it's on Prime and all the streaming services. It's fantastic.
Oh
And they
wow.
asked me for part two to come and help them out. And so that one's called Flash of Beauty Paranormal Bigfoot, and that will be coming out in October. And that's even better, if that's possible, than the first one. And then are you familiar with Ron Moorhead?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, I'm not.
So he is known for the Sierra sounds, where he was able to record sounds of Bigfoot, and he had them analyzed, and it's incredible the information that they got, that the sounds that they were picking up, it's impossible for a human to make those sounds at all. Um, so that's pretty cool. And at some point, maybe we can get them on the show and play some of the sounds for you. But
Oh,
that's a next. We're doing an Indiegogo to try to get money together to make his film, because he's getting up there in age and he wants to kind of do a documentary on all his research and kind of bring that forward for the next generation to come in and do more work on it. So that's really
oh.
exciting. And then I teach remote viewing.
Mhm.
So I have a class coming up at the end of September, I believe. And so if anybody wants to learn how to remote view, I'll be doing that too.
What is remote viewing?
So the remote viewing that I do is back in the 70s, there was our government had a project that they did. It was a secret project called Project Stargate.
Okay,
And
I know
um,
about kind of about that off and on.
so then in the 90s, they declassified, and
Mhm.
then all the people that were working in the unit um, kind of, they retired and they started teaching remote viewing to regular people. And so I started learning, I think about 10 years ago, and I had a knack for it, and I was able to work on several projects with the government and all sorts of cool stuff. Like we remote viewed the 2020 Olympics a year before they happened. We do climate. NASA scientists had us do climate change. And then we do fun stuff like UFOs and Bigfoot and anything anomalous we work on. And then most importantly, and what I like is, how you can use it to make your life better, because it can really help you get insights about really how our mind, body, and soul work together.
Wow.
And then also we do true crime and missing persons, those are serious. So I'm working on putting a team together, and that's why I want them to take class so that we can, get the practice in and then start working on, because I get tons of emails and calls and things like that, where people need some help. And so if I can have a team, that would be great. And then we can kind of do more projects.
I will definitely have to get in touch with you. That's fascinating. I usually just write children's books, non-published or anything yet.
Yeah.
But a girlfriend of mine had suggested a book, which I'll tell you about later. Michael doesn't like the topic. It's a little naughty.
Oh, okay.
But I was wondering, that might be another way. I
You
know.
might as well put the subject out there now. Just did.
No, I just said it was naughty. That's it.
Well,
That's still PG, Michael. But anyway, I'll tell you about it later, and anybody else who wants to know can send me a message. But we'll keep the integrity of the show intact. But that might be a way to, to kind of bring that in not just my writings, but other people's writings, to see that. I'd be fascinated.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much. We had Gretchen Cornwall, who she researches the Knights of the Templar, and
I'm actually an Eastern Star.
Oh wow, cool!
Yeah.
That's cool. And she was on Mysteries of the Oak Island.
Yes, I've watched it all. Yeah, I'm familiar.
So she asked me and my team to remote view a statue that she had. And so her mind was blown by the data that we collected about it. She was like, there's no way you guys could have known that. And the thing about remote viewing is our viewers do not know what the target is. That's what's so significant about it. They have no clue. So I just grabbed who wants to do a session. Here's your target number. And then they just follow what they were taught. And then we debrief afterwards. We get the feedback, and she actually used clips of our debrief in her. She made like a little sort of documentary series on it, and so she was just blown away by how great it was. So
wow,
that's
so Joanne is asking, do you know Reginald Randall? He is very smart on a project for lost kids.
Oh, Reginald Randall. No, that one I know. I've never heard of him. I know that sounds great though. Is he using remote viewing, or I guess I'd have to look him up.
I think I have a friend who technically does remote viewing. She's a medium, and so she gets visions. Catherine Sorlos, I don't know if you know her, out of Greece.
No.
But she helps looking for lost people. And
Jenny knows her, she says.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I think it's really important for the families, to, whether you come up with good stuff or not so good stuff. They have a right to know what happened to their loved ones. So we don't really charge for that. But if someone's like, oh, I lost my ring, or help me find something, then, we charge for that. And then, but other than that, we just do lots of projects and cool stuff like that.
so what got you started in remote viewing?
Well, about 10 years ago or a little more, I am ended up going to hypnosis school to learn how to be a hypnotherapist. And so, like, when you start going, and I lived a pretty normal life, I would say, but when you start opening doors, like more doors open, as you know. And so
Oh,
it just kind of synchronicities, meeting certain people, things like that. And then I just ended up, a friend of mine that I went to high school with, she wrote several books on psychic development. Her name is Deborah Lynn Katz.
I need to write.
And um, and she told me to take her class. And so I was like, only people that, were born with that can do psychic. And she's like, no, everyone can. And she's like, you're really intuitive. You should take the class. So I'm like, all right. So one of the classes, she introduced us to remote viewing just for fun. And I had such a great experience with it. I just really was drawn to it. I think because I'm a very scientific mind, and I have to have some kind of evidence. I just don't jump in and believe things right away. So I like the fact that, you're blind to a target. It's kind of set up sort of scientific in a way because, we try to get rid of a lot of, biases and things like that to just keep the sessions really pure. And then as I got into it, and I wanted more people to start, I want the whole world to remote view. That's my goal. That's my mission. So I was a co-researcher with Deborah, and we did some experiments because we knew that, um, you know, scientists need to have evidence and they need it put in a certain way because that's what their language is. So we attempted to, we used a form of remote viewing called ARV, associative remote viewing, and we use that to predict a future outcome. This way we have evidence connected to it, and then we also have money connected to it because money talks. So
Yes.
it answers the question when people say, well, if you're psychic, why don't you win money? Well, we were winning money. We were predicting a future outcome of sporting events. So we did about 50 trials and we connected it to baseball games. And our job was to dream about a photo that will be shown to us um, after the game, and that photo would represent the team that wins. So we would go to sleep, set an intention that we're going to go to the photo, and then wake up in the morning. So we kept a clipboard next to us, and we did our session first thing in the morning. We turned in the session, and the group manager would look at everyone's sessions and then make a prediction because they knew what game was being played and everything. So they made a prediction based on our sessions. So we would either, sometimes it would pass, like if they felt like we were too close. Um, but basically, they make a prediction and then put money on it. And so our hit rate was about 62%. So,
Jeez.
yeah, so that
That's
was
high.
yeah, so that was really so on my website, butterflyeffectcenter.com. Those papers all are written up. We also predicted the presidential elections, and we, did a whole bunch of things like that. So all the papers, if you're into reading scientific papers, they're on my website.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So I've got a question about that. You're talking about, I mean, I'm really new to this. Like I've had gifts my whole life, but I'm just now, as I meet people, I'm like, what? That's what that was? I didn't even know that. I just, like, I don't know names and stuff. But when you're talking about predicting that kind of stuff, do you ever get nervous about balance? Because for me, like my gut feeling, I feel like everything has to be within a balance. It's very like just naturally my feelings are there has to be a balance. Like when you can predict those kind of things that have like monetary value and things like that. Do you ever worry about the the balance of things?
No, because I think to me, my focus is not necessarily the balance, because I feel like balance will work itself out with with a pure intention. So really,
Oh,
everything for me is the tone is set by my intention.
yeah, yeah.
So in that particular case, there was no intention. We were betting $1. It
Oh,
was
okay.
just for science.
Right,
And I could, change my mind and say, no, I want to bet, on a lot of money, or whatever.
right,
Um, but I feel like these gifts are there, and
right,
really what you choose, like if you do make a ton of money, like what you choose to do with the money is, your choice. I don't have an issue with using these gifts
right,
to help with wealth or
right,
health or anything like that. Like um, I think it just all works itself out. And ultimately, my perspective of all this is about us becoming more than what we think we are.
right.
Evolving into the full
What
potential
we,
of
yeah,
our human beings,
yeah, of what we originally were. Yes,
or what we can become. Yeah,
right.
I mean, definitely, I think that we're not using, you know, we're
Oh,
not
yeah. We don't use any.
nearly.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to keep an open mind and set good intentions, and that's really how everything is surrounded.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm curious, when you say remote viewing a UFO, are you taking like an incident that's been reported on and remote viewing on it, or are you remote viewing to bring a UFO into awareness?
Right. So we're not doing like remote influencing, we're doing remote viewing. So we're looking at, so for example, um, this may or may not be a UFO, but one of the things that we look at a lot of time is the Baltic Sea anomaly. Are you familiar with that? There
With-
is some structure in deep down in the Baltic Sea, and
Oh,
it was
right.
picked up by a satellite. And the way it looks, and it's so deep that it's not easy to get to. So that's why it hasn't been confirmed. So
Right.
what I do is in the course of my training, that does come up. Sometimes I will task my students and the question that they don't know this question, it's a secret. I'll say, we'll be talking about the Baltic Sea anomaly, and we want to know, is that man made or natural?
Right.
Because we want to know, is it a man made, like it could be a UFO, or is it natural? It's just a rock structure at the bottom that just happens to look like a UFO. Um,
right.
so we do things like that, or sometimes we'll look at, are there alien bases on the moon? Uh, or at one point I remote viewed the Patterson Gimlin footage. Is it a hoax or is it the real thing? So yeah, we do all sorts of. It's really important on how we task, how we question it, and then as long as the people follow what they're taught and get their session done, and then we line everything up, and then we get information. So any of those esoteric targets don't necessarily have concrete feedback, so we can't always verify those things. So that's why I call them kind of fun. But the things that can be verified, those are the outstanding. When we remote viewed the Olympics, for example, um, I was getting some information that there was a compute. They wanted to know the top three threats for the Olympics for 2020, and we were remote viewing in 2000, the beginning of 2019, and so I I was getting things like a computer virus, something that I would perceive as a computer virus. And I handed in my session. I didn't hear anything. And then years like in 2021 or something, I think I was washing dishes and I was thinking, oh, yeah, I wonder whatever happened with that target I did. And I started thinking about it and I'm like, wait a minute. I said computer virus, but it was actually the coronavirus. It wasn't a
Oh,
computer.
right. Yep.
So
Right.
I was a little off with that, but that
Yeah.
stopped the Olympics. There was no 2020 Olympics because of
Yeah.
pandemic. Um, so I was like, okay, yeah, all right, that happened.
Yeah.
Um, but at the time, sometimes you don't get it at that time. It has to take time for things to fall into place, and then you figure it out. Oh, okay. So
That
Yeah.
happens to us too, mediums and things when I do readings or walk through houses. We were talking earlier about, I'm just like, trust your gut because it may not be right now, but I've had people call 2, 3 months ahead and say, do you remember when you were talking about those baby shoes behind the picture frame on the bottom shelf? Well, we were packing and I found my son's baby shoes behind a picture frame on the bottom shelf. And I was
right,
like,
right,
just don't
exactly.
stay firm with it. Now it can develop, it comes in as one thing the way your brain interprets from your own environment, but you just let it settle and twist and then it finally works itself out once your brain has processed this raw material. So yeah, I mean it's cool though, but it's so good. I'm sure you felt so good. You're like, yes, that's a
Oh
long time,
yeah, it
that
does.
kind of hanging.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All that stuff. Um, yeah, and it does it. I just, I gained a lot of confidence in trusting my instincts,
Definitely.
and so there's just so much that taking that class you can apply to your everyday life.
Yeah,
It's very
take it. You got a new student. I
um,
have to take it.
yes, you have to take it. I would love
Have
it.
to. Plus, it might help me understand. I have so many visions I don't understand. I have gruesome things that I see at when I'm about to go to sleep that there's no reason why I should see them. And just other throughout the day, just flashes of things. So that might be able to, maybe that class might able me to kind of turn everything in and figure it out, or who knows? I don't know
Yeah,
what it is. So
definitely. Yeah, yeah. I kind of remember when I think that class is going to start on the second Saturday of September.
of
It's
course,
on
it's
my
in
website,
September.
September, right? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. We were
what?
laughing because my September and October are just pinched together. I've got a new grandbaby coming, and they like
Oh,
to come late. So I'm like, he's got a paranormal, or he's got a fest that he's going to in speaking, and I'm trying to get to New Orleans for that at the end of the month. And I got a grandbaby due on the 18th, and all these things. And I'm like, of course, everything good is like September and
the
October.
fall. It's like the fall. That's,
Yeah,
so it
it
starts.
is our
Well,
heyday.
if you can come, it's 6 classes.
Hmm.
And I record them. So if you miss one, you can watch it later.
Oh, good. So it's not like a
So
live kind of thing.
well, it is live,
Oh,
but
but
I
you
also record it. And then if you miss a particular class, then
yeah.
I'll send it to you and then you can
Oh,
watch
great.
it.
Cool.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, so it's
Come on,
fun.
Michael. You can take it too. Squeeze it in that tight schedule.
Well, I'm curious about remote viewing because I'm starting to find out stuff about myself that I thought were either past lives or just memories from my soul, and realizing that I was a part of something I possibly didn't know about. So I'm enjoying going through and discovering that. But before I say yes or no to taking the course, I'm kind of curious, because you talk about doing the remote viewing for fun. Have you ever gone to like remote view like the Magruder film and JFK's assassination, or if
Mm.
Hitler escaped into Argentina?
Yeah, so some of those I haven't done all those. I mean, there's only so many times a day. into hours in the day. But yeah, let's see, we did the Hitler one. So that was interesting. But a lot of other remote viewers have done JFK and all those that you bring up. Howard Hughes, we did recently a Howard Hughes one. Um, and yeah, so we do those too. So what's so cool about it is that because you don't know what you're doing, all you're getting is a target number. It just makes it even more like profound when you start lining up stuff, and then other people that are remote viewing with you on the same project. It's just incredible when everybody's getting similar stuff, and
Right.
it's like one of my classes, like everybody on their first session, they just started crying. They just,
Aw.
it works. I'm like, well, you don't realize it works unless you do it. You have to experience it to really
Right.
know. And I even had like not that it's wrong for men to cry,
Right.
but it's not usual. And a man in the class also got triggered too. So it it's really profound. And I'm gonna say, Michael, that some of the class that we do is I will give them a tasking to go to a past life and bring back a skill that will help them become a better remote viewer. So we can do things like that too.
I was
Um,
just about to ask you that if we could actually go back into our own formula, because I'm just now having flashbacks recently since my birthday. Uh, yeah, it's not good. But I would like to go back and see what happened up into that, because I feel like there's people in my life now that were in my life then. Because I'm just gonna say, there's a girl that I'm not really one to hate, but this girl I wanted to, like, it's bad, and I can tell it's from something far deeper than this
yeah,
world. Like it's like a constant thing, and my friends think that she might have betrayed me and got me
or
killed because of the anger that I have and the feelings, the betrayal that I feel from the second I saw her.
yeah,
And I would really like to know what that about, because I tried to not do it. I
right,
tried to consciously within this world say there is no reason for you to feel this way, but it is as if she has murdered me, my family, like this female. It's such a deep maternal rage
wow,
that I
yeah,
have got to figure it out.
yeah, yeah. That's and I think like you know, yeah, I definitely because if you because we do stuff like that in hypnosis too,
I'm
and I think
shaking, like I'm
yeah,
just talking about it. I'm just
yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something there. But
major
yeah,
trauma.
you need to get some answers to that so that you
Yeah.
can, kind of put that, you know.
She's not any better human in this life than she was in that life, but at the moment there was no reason for those adverse
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
feelings.
And going back to like you were saying, going into the past lives and bringing pieces into the future or present. I've actually studied a technique called timeline therapy, where we do go back into past lives, view events, and bring the positive reinforcement of what we view from seeing the event, from being in the event to being above as an observer of the event and seeing, okay, yeah, so what I saw was a small piece of the puzzle. There was a much bigger puzzle that now that makes sense why this happened. And so you bring that awareness into the future or present. And so, yeah, it was really interesting to learn that, we're always taught time is linear, and it's really not. It's like a
Right.
sphere or circle that's just constantly going, and you can just pluck yourself in anywhere.
See,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
funny. I see time, like when I feel time, like with that female, it feels like a long ribbon to me. Like it just
Mhm.
feels like it just goes on and on and on and on. I don't feel anything, you know, circular or anything like that. For me, it's like a long ribbon.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, those are really good points. And you know, when we do hypnosis and we want to work on some of these issues like traumas or fears or phobias or anything like that,
Right.
because the subconscious has permanent memory, all you're doing is kind of pulling it to the forefront and making it like it's now. And
Right.
then you can kind of work with it, and we do a lot of that's where the therapy comes in, and then kind of put it back,
Right.
so and it's also a good way to, I was hired, I had about three, and this was pretty cool. Well, I shouldn't say that, but three people that felt like they were abducted.
Oh,
Okay. So I go into those situations like, I don't know, because sometimes it could be a dream or,
right.
a lucid dream and, whatever. It's hard to know. So I kind of set myself up like no judging. I know nothing, and walk in. And so really the point of that is to take them back to that experience and bring it forward and then kind of work it out. Whoops, sorry, by the street. Did you hear that? That big car.
Yeah, that's
Oh, that
okay.
was
I
the
was just
car.
listening to you, but I thought he just picked up a giant bottle of rosé. I was like,
I
what
No,
the
this is a
heck
water
is he?
bottle.
need some
It,
rosé for this
but
conversation.
it looked like from here, it looked like rosé, and I was trying not to be obvious, and I was sneaking in like, is he got an entire bottle of rosé in his hand?
He needs it for this conversation.
Like, did he just forget his glass? And he's just like, forget it, it's my show.
That's funny.
I
So
might be thirsty. Maybe I'm thinking, I wish I had a bottle of rosé, and
that's
I'm just,
yeah,
living
projected.
vicariously.
Yes, you projected for
I
sure.
did. I wish I could manifest.
I
Yeah,
mean, I
well,
could
you
turn the
can.
water into wine, but that trick's already been done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why should you redo it?
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
won't leave that one alone.
No, but Jenny has a interesting question for you. She says, "Can you, without remote viewing, give any experience of a paranormal experience that you have experienced?"
uh,
That's a good one. Yay.
Um, so basically like a paranormal experience in remote viewing.
Right.
And when you say paranormal, are you talking about, is she talking about like spirits and things like that?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I would guess.
so what we have done using remote viewing in those cases is I had a team of investigators that they go out every weekend. There's like five of them, and they go to different places, and then they go and do an investigation at the location, and they have all their technology and all that cool stuff. And so usually when they go to these places, they're usually old places and there's some kind of history. So remote viewing is really helpful to answer some of the questions about the history of what went on at
Right.
this location that could answer. Like, for example, if I think there was a story about a young girl in a hotel or something that was killed or something, or maybe she was a twin or drowned. I don't remember what it was, but something like that. And in remote viewing, when we task them, a specific question, we can get more information. And then what they do is they go and research it at the library or whatever, and then they line up our data with what they get at the library. And sometimes we even get a little bit more information than they even have at the library. So that's kind of how we have used it in a paranormal situation.
Very
It
cool.
kind of it makes I know that on the TV shows they have a lot of mediums that come in, and I guess we would sort of be doing that too, like just tuning in, getting the history, getting some more details, finding out what happened, and then line everything up.
I think I
So,
may only person in this world that has not seen any of those paranormal shows. I've watched like 10 minutes and I just can't watch them. They're too scary. Like I get scared. I can't do it.
Yeah, I like to get scared.
I'm curious, do you ever, like, if you're going to a location to do something, do you by yourself remote view it before you go? And then when you're there, say, oh, this is what I saw.
I have done that. Yeah, yeah. I don't do it all the time, but sometimes I have done that. And it's pretty cool because um it just kind of like, I guess on one level you shouldn't have to reinforce that we can do this, but I always need, like, wow, this works. I need to
Yeah.
get that reinforcement. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever like if you're gonna do that versus being there, do you feel like you can see the spirit better if you go a less physical way like you're doing?
I think that the way that remote viewing works is you're tapping into all your senses, and you're not really getting an actual perfect picture. Like if I said, here's a picture of the ocean with a boat in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, remote view this picture I'm going to show you tomorrow. You're not going to draw on your paper an ocean with a boat in
Okay.
it. It doesn't work that way. You're going to start getting smells like, oh, what do I smell? Water. Oh, there's energy here. There's movement. Oh, I see a bright red color. Or, it's almost as if um, somebody took a picture and flashed it in your face real quick and then moved it away, and then what you remember. And so the session is about unpacking what happened in that split second of that vision of what it was. So when you start, you're starting to get only like shapes and colors and very low level information. As you progress through the session, things start to come together, and
Okay.
it's designed that way. And that's really the way that most people's mind works.
Yeah, that's
And
it. That's crazy. I'm kind of blown away. Y'all have to excuse me for a minute because you just described the very way things come to me in
right,
an investigation, the smells and the temperatures and the colors and things
you
like
do
that.
really good. I think you do really well with remote viewing
It's
because
it's
you're
kind of
already, yeah,
yeah.
a lot of people, we have to really, like, they don't do that. They don't pay attention to that. So you're already ahead of the game by already
Right.
doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but even dreams, like, do your people that can do it more naturally, do they have full color, smell, sight, taste dreams? Because, I
So
do.
right. So what I mean, a lot of the people that come and take the class, most people have had spontaneous things happen to them where they just get information and they can't really control it. And the thing about remote viewing, it is a controlled environment.
Oh,
So you're setting an intention, you have a project to work on, and you're going after it. So that's different, but you are using the same you're using the same kind of
since,
mechanism or whatever you would be using heinous thing. But there are some people that are so sensitive that they really can't live their life. Like, they're so distracted by everything. And when they come and learn remote viewing, they learn to kind of control that aspect, and they can have a calmer life. They don't have to read everybody's thoughts and mind and all that stuff. It's not good for you.
that's funny. I was just telling Michael, this is how I deal with anxiety from hearing from smells and things because I constantly am in smelling smells and things like people are constantly cooking or burning metal or leaves or whatever constantly. And I tell him this is how I handle anxiety is Vicks Vapor
What is
Rub.
that? I can't
Vicks
think.
Vapor Rub.
Oh, That's interesting. Okay.
It's a strong enough
But I think
smell.
in remote viewing, it's really important because, taste and smells and things like that. So if you perceive water and
Mhm.
you're looking for a missing person, it's really important to know what kind of water. So we
Definitely.
prompt ourselves to say, taste the water, lick the water. And
Yeah.
if it's salty, then we know, oh, it's ocean water. If
Mhm.
it's sweet or mineral, then we know that it might be natural water.
Yeah, well
And
water.
that's really helpful. Um, and we're looking for someone. We want those details, and they come through. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mm.
every water is different from every tap, from everything. It smells different. Every water. Bottled water, everything. Everything smells
yeah,
different. No
right,
water is the same unless you're in a big thing. And even that water from this channel to that channel in a lake, very different smells.
yeah,
They won't
exactly.
smell the same.
Mm. Jenny's wanted to know, have you ever used a recorder to record your questions and any possible answers?
Um, so there's a form of remote viewing called ERV, extended remote viewing, and we use that. We So that's more like you go into a trance state, and it's where usually you have a monitor, and the monitor, it's like hypnosis in a way. But the monitor has to be very careful not to lead. So we like to have the monitors so that they are also blind to the target. And then there are other times where I'll just have, if I have to do a session, I'll just take my phone and record information that I'm getting. I call it image streaming, and it's just a stream of images that come to me, and they're associated with a target. So I've done that too, where you can record it and just describe things.
That's
That's
cool. So Jenny's sharing, our friend in Greece. She's a mutual friend. She said she was talking to her, just casual conversation. She dropped something, and she literally told me where it was. Yet she was in Greece and I'm in Ireland. I don't believe all the time, and I looked where she said and literally gasped.
Yeah. So, I mean, we know now in quantum physics that there's no time space. So there is no distance between any of us. We're all, so none of that matters how far you are. I mean, they took a electron and they separated it far, and this one, they tweak this one tweaks or responds to it. So we know that there is no blockage through time and space. So it's as if, so even a lot of people that they call it quantum healing, because they can heal people from wherever, and you don't have to be with them. Um, you can do it, in Chicago, and the other person in California. And I truly believe, like I brought up before, that everything is about intention. So if my intention is for healing, then, that kind of follows through.
Right. I'm kind of curious because at times, like you're saying, with intention and everything, I've been able to like be here in my house, but then talking to somebody and they'll say, "Did you just like come to my house? I literally just saw you walking around in my backyard or something." And I'm like, "I haven't left my house." But my intention was, yeah, I was talking with them and wanted to check something. So is that a kind of like a form of remote viewing where you can manifest yourself in another location?
Yeah, to me, that sounds more like an outer body experience, um, or astral projection or something. In remote viewing, we don't leave. We project our subconscious to the location and then report. But an OBE or an astral projection, you set the intention, which I studied lucid dreams and OBEs like for a whole year straight, practicing every day, because that does not come naturally for me, but it was something that I was really determined to do. And it's, to me, it's a different feeling, a different frequency than remote viewing.
Okay. Now, you mentioned remote viewing, like the moon bases. Was it like looking at like the dark side of the moon, or were you focusing on like the NASA bases?
Yeah, so the question was a very general question. It was just like, are there alien bases on the moon? And in this particular session, my partner, a very good friend of mine, was doing the session, and at one point, he felt like he was getting a whole bunch of information, and then all of a sudden, just stopped, and he went, "I'm getting locked out." That's how he felt. He felt like somebody kind of turned off the lights or put a door down, and he was just like, "Whoa." And that was his experience, where he felt like somebody was blocking him from seeing whatever he was seeing. So that was that. That never happened to me, but that happened to him. So he may have been going in a place where he wasn't supposed to go. I don't know, and maybe there was something set up where, they just didn't want you to see. Um, uh, I did a session on the moon, but I think that the session was really about if there was ever life on the moon, or maybe it was Mars. I think it may have been Mars. Um, so yeah, it was something about life before on Mars, which I feel like there was life on Mars millions and millions of years ago. So I definitely felt that I was getting information about that.
Wow.
So I'm kind of curious because I know there's structures found on Mars that look like structures found here on Earth. Are you one of those like have you ever remote viewed to see is there really a connection? Are these related, or does it just happen to be somebody on, say, Mars decided, hey, we're going to build a step pyramid here, and somebody here on Earth said, hey, why not build a step pyramid? And they just happen to look alike.
Or maybe the same individuals built both.
Right, right. I think I didn't specifically remote view that at all. My uh, Joe McMonagle, he did. And so on YouTube, you can check out his YouTube. You just put in Joe McMonagle and Mars, and he did his session way before these pictures came. So what he did was he has the sketches and pictures that he drew in his session, and he lines them up with the pictures that they found that they took on Mars that are more current. It's a crazy, crazy video. It'll knock your socks off.
And just one more topic, I'm curious because, this remote viewing, it feels like could bring in so many answers to stuff we're looking at. Like the phenomenon of the Nazca lines. Have you ever thought to look to see, was that man made or why were
No, but
those made?
No, but what I do is at the beginning of my classes, I tell everyone to send me 5 questions that they want us all to remote view. And so I put it in a kind of an Excel sheet. And so I'll kind of weed in those targets so nobody knows when they come up. So with these questions you have, they're really good ideas. I would love for you to send them, and then we can have everybody remote view them, because we love getting practice targets, and so that would be a lot of fun to do those.
Yeah, I can send you some locations and questions.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know names and stuff. I just do what I do.
Like Gobekli Temple, and I think is
Yeah,
it
I feel you.
Hamuku, where all the stones are stacked to where you can't even get a piece of paper through the cracks.
Right. Yeah. 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 I mean, there's so much to view and so many hours in the day. I mean, there's so many questions. I love
Right.
all those. Um, just I've been, you know, I did Skinny Pop and all those, but I also like to have a balance with also doing ones that we can verify, because then sometimes you get a little destabilized or you slant your session in a particular way, and so you have to kind of have a combination of real life targets and then also the esoteric. So a lot of things that I would love to remote view, I haven't yet, but I would like to for sure. And
Which
so we could
that
do
brings
that.
up an interesting question I have is when you talk about topics, say like, the Olympics, for example, you said you remote viewed the Olympics. If you're a huge fan and you're like really in, studying and watching and, everything, does that ever influence the remote view, or how do you keep that from influencing all your awareness that you currently have from flooding in and saying, oh yeah, the Olympics is going to be this, because you're like, yeah, every Olympics has this, so this is obviously going to be there.
Because we aren't told that it's the Olympics. We're just given a number. So we don't even know until we're done with our session that it was the Olympics.
What is this number that you keep talking about? You're given a
It's
number.
like a random number that we assign to a tasking. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Mhm.
Say, okay, here's your target. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go do your thing.
Okay.
And then it's what you don't see, but the manager sees is like we actually don't literally put it in an envelope, but
Right.
you write it down on a piece of paper, put it in an envelope, put the target number on the outside of the envelope, and then that the viewers don't get to see until they're done with their session. So all they know as a view, if you were a viewer, all you would get is an 8-digit number or any digit number. It could be anything. And you would get that number, and because you were taught how to move in throughout your session, you
Right.
would just go and do that because it's all and it's intention. I stuck the intention in this envelope, and you are going after the intention. Your intention is to perceive the answer to my question.
This is
So
crazy to me.
I
Like, this
know.
is just like trying to wrap my head around all of this, because a lot of it makes sense to me, but then the minute you throw numbers in, my brain shuts down. It doesn't want to hear numbers. It doesn't want to see numbers. I literally become completely inarticulate when numbers start coming into play.
Yeah. And
So,
the numbers really, it doesn't mean anything. The
yeah,
number, it's just in the military, they just use longitude and latitude,
right,
just
right.
random longitude. And now we we even have a number generator that just gives us them.
Hmm.
It's just a way to organize the session so that we're
Oh,
all looking at the same one. In fact, I worked on some projects where they didn't even give me a number. They're just like, okay, do your thing. And
yeah,
I'm like, so I would write the date because I'm like, oh, I have to be organized, so I know,
right.
keep my things in proper organization. But
Oh, okay.
they're just used to help with that. They're
Right.
not significant to the session at all.
Oh, okay. So they're not like, say, like it's like a ribbon, like I say in each, there's a spot like on a tape measure. It's not that kind of thing. Like you already know, like, 3, 4, 5 is this time and space or
No,
whatever. Just a
nothing.
focal
Yeah.
point and an identifying
It's
thing.
just kind of an admin thing, I would say. I would say it's like an organizational tool. It has really nothing to do with the session
Very
because you can do
fascinating.
sessions without them. It's
Now,
the point that we're trying to make is that we're not telling you what the target is. That's
Right.
the thing, that you have no idea.
I find it interesting, like you mentioned, your friend who was remote viewing the moon and got blocked and shut down. Have you or your students ever been remote viewing and see someone remote viewing you?
Excuse
And
me.
if you do, how do you block that or stop it?
Um, I think I'm trying to think. That kind of happens with more of the seasoned remote viewers, not usually the newer ones. Um, the seasoned ones are a little bit, they're more comfortable, and so they explore a little bit. But again, um, I've been asked questions about like negative entities and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't, my intention is always benevolent. And so I never get anything bad. Never, never, never. The only thing is like if you're doing a true crime, but
Yeah.
you know what's going to happen. And even in that, I have protection. And at the end of those sessions, I actually, we have a method where we break away from the session so that the session is over. So we have all those things in place, and I'm very careful about, always being positive. Like
Right.
none of the negative stuff is useful to me. I just want productive things that will help people. And that's where I come from. But because remote viewing is so powerful, there can be people that have negative intentions, and that is a reality, but I don't engage in any of that, and therefore none of my students do.
That's good. That's good. If you don't detach properly, can you actually be physically injured, like nauseous or something, if you don't do the correct steps to kind of unplug properly? Like, don't jerk it by the cord, hold it by the
Yeah,
plug.
I feel like I feel like you can carry some weight with you with it.
Mhm.
There are some sessions where in the middle of, we actually have, like, we call it physical response. Like,
Yeah.
you'll be going through the session, and you know, like, I was practicing with someone, and hit the session, the target was a glass bridge in Japan that was between two cliffs. And I didn't know he was afraid of heights, but
Oh
that was the
no.
target. So of course I didn't tell him that was the target. So all of a sudden I'm monitoring him and we're on Zoom, and he's like, he's like, oh, I'm getting not like I'm nauseous. I'm like, Michelle, like I'm not feeling good. Like he had all these symptoms. I'm like, he's like, I need to stop. I need a break. And I'm
Mhm.
like, he goes, and then finally he couldn't take it. And he's like, what is it? I said, it's a glass bridge in Japan. And he's like, I'm afraid of heights. Oh, okay. Good.
Oop, my
But
bad.
on the positive side, I wonder if you can do this to help people not be afraid of heights. Like
Right.
maybe it's like desensitizing. Like maybe it would work that way, I don't know. I haven't tried that, but I'm thinking now, like
Yeah.
it could desensitize somebody and then they wouldn't be afraid if you keep
Right.
giving them targets of heights. I don't know.
Yeah.
I heard a story about another person that target was a picture of strawberries, and
Mhm.
she's allergic to
Oh
strawberries.
no.
So she started to have a reaction, and
I,
she didn't even know that was a target. So she just started, getting like hot and rashy and whatever.
I could
So
get dangerous.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
It's interesting how whatever you're remote viewing without even knowing what it is, the body will react as if it's there and or is around whatever it is. Because it seems like, the distance, it's like you were saying, the distance doesn't mean anything with the quantum mechanics. It's the body says, hey, strawberries, I'm allergic. Reaction.
With a
yeah.
person, I'm allergic. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna. say something else. What were you going to say?
Oh, I have a million food allergies and things like that. So I know for a fact that when I go to eat something, if I'm questioning how prepared the egg is in it, and my brain perceives that I have touched something in my mouth that has raw egg, I will start swelling because my body is in itching and literally spitting it out because my body's like, get it out of there, get it out of there, whether it's in there or not. But if my body perceives that it's in there, so it could be the same thing. She didn't have to touch the strawberry or see the strawberry. Like,
Right,
her
right.
brain is going to go into an automatic reflex of, oh, crap. You know,
Right,
we're in contact with the strawberry. We have to do everything we can to protect her from the strawberry.
right.
So, yeah, you don't have to touch it. If your brain thinks that you have touched it, that's it. Your
Right.
histamines go crazy. Like, you just have to think it.
Yeah, and there was a study done. I forgot. I think his name was Dr. Benson, but I'm not sure. I have to find out who it was. But he did an experiment where he took uh, a bunch of college students and he uploaded a whole bunch of photos, and some of the photos were provocative, like two people kissing or a lady in a bra or whatever, a knife maybe or whatever. And he hooked the students up with
Right.
taking their brain and their pulse and their blood pressure, all the uh, all the readings. And all their job was is to sit in front of the computer and just advance each picture. And
Uh-huh.
what they found is that their bodies, their levels would spike
Right.
before they even saw those provocative pictures. So
Huh.
their bodies reacted before they saw the picture. That was a repeatable experiment. So that tells us that we do sense things before they happen.
Yeah.
And that's proof of that. We used it when we were primitive. That's how we were hunters and gatherers and things like that. But now we're able to document that it's actually happening. So
Right.
yeah, it's um, very, very interesting.
Yeah, it reminds me of the experiment. I believe they did it in Russia, if I'm not mistaken, where they had two plants in different rooms, and they would like set like a flame underneath one of the leaves of the plant,
Huh.
and
Horrible.
the plant in the other room was showing symptoms of burning, even though there was no flame.
Yeah,
And they
Well,
would talk nice to the plant, and both plants would flourish. They talked negatively, the plant would start to shrivel. And
right.
so it's sounding kind of like what you're describing is, everything is connected, even when we don't realize is connected.
well,
Yeah.
nature talks to itself. I can hear the plants communicate.
Mhm.
Like you can, it's a very low hum. But if you're just very still and very quiet, and if you focus in on that sound, you can actually hear my elephant ears drive me mad some days. I can't even stand it because they will put off this kind of vibration, and I'm just like, y'all are about to get cut down. I don't need you. You need me. I don't need you, because it's
Right.
just such a low kind of pulse. But it's them talking. I know they're communicating. Like, I know what it is. I can't understand it, of course, but it's that super low pulse. So the plants were talking. That one was like, hey dude, you might be under the flame next. So ow.
Right. That's great. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's very cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so another interesting thing about you, Michelle, is you're a publicist. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I am always looking for authors and people that are have a really important message, and I want to help them get the message out there. So our background, we produce podcasts, and we also help people get booked on shows and at events. And then I also help produce well, the film I talked about in the beginning, the big Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, and then the next one that's coming out in October. And yeah, all sorts of things like that.
Very cool. How did you get into that profession?
So I was a producer for Art Bell,
Oh.
and I think I just talked to a lot of the guests that were not thrilled about their
Right.
publishers being able to help them after, because they had to move on to other projects. Um, I kind of pick up where the publishers leave off, and then help them continue. So
Find a need and fill it.
that's right. I like that. Find the need and fill it. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun, and I get to meet so many cool people. I'm gonna be at Phenomicon next week,
How neat.
and then we have Jimmy Church, his conference Stairway to the Stars, which will be in Las Vegas at the Luxor. So
Vegas.
that's gonna be fun. Yeah,
That's where you get to wear your pretty shoes.
oh yeah.
And then take them off and catch a taxi because you
Oh right.
underestimated how far your room was.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah, that's so true. I
Yeah.
can relate to that.
Yep. You wear those pretty shoes all one side, and then when you cross the road, you're like, forget it. Take them off, pick up flip flops at Walgreens, and hit McDonald's.
Yeah. Well, nowadays my pretty shoes are like sneakers.
Oh yeah.
Just my
No, I
pretty
still rock
sneakers.
the 6-inch heels.
Oh
So
my gosh, good
yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna grow old as gracefully as possible, which isn't always that graceful in 6-inch heels, but yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah.
good for you.
But
I
I
love
can pretty much tell you on every block where you can get flip flops because me and my friends we have to do it. We always forget them, and so it's tough. But that's so good, and everybody check her out on that. Check out
Yeah,
this.
yeah, check it out.
Mhm.
And hopefully we'll get more people joining my class because I want everybody in the world to remote view.
Well,
Is
I'm
that too
fast.
much to
You've got
ask?
to go ahead.
And I'm kind of curious because I've done like classes like psychic development and tarot, gypsy card, and everything, and it's like I've learned to see what I determined, and what my guides told me was I've learned to see with eyes unseen.
Mhm.
And so, is that kind of like a stepping stone, like into remote viewing, or is that like different faculties and remote viewing is a different muscle?
Yeah, I kind of think that they're all they're all psychic, but it's just kind of a different format. And I feel like you can get a lot of more reliable information using remote viewing.
Right.
That's what I think. Like, because I think a lot of times when we're doing tarot and psychic readings and things like that, we have a tendency to be subjective, based on our life experiences. And remote viewing has a way of preventing that from happening. It doesn't always work, but it's on the way to making that work. So your data that you collect it doesn't get tainted in any way with your um personal background or baggage or whatever. It's pretty pure data because you don't know what the target is. And that's and then also the protocol, the steps that you take and how it works all make your session a little bit more reliable, in my opinion.
Okay. There's a gentleman in the chat who's kind of been like pointing out some question kind of stuff relating it to God and everything, but he came up with one that kind of I think piqued my interest a little bit. Is he says Michelle Freed what happened after life in death? Have you ever looked to see what if there's an afterlife? What happens after death?
Um, let's say I see his name is in Hebrew.
Oh,
So,
that's what that is. I was
yeah,
like,
that,
is this my glasses? What is going
that's
on?
hi there. I didn't, it was so fast, I didn't see his name. But I lived in Israel for a year, so yay, go
Can you put
Oh,
it
Israel.
back
I
up?
can put it back up if you
Yeah,
want to
there
try
you
and
go.
translate it.
No, I'm not good at Hebrew. What is their name?
His name
Oh,
is
his
Lev.
name is Levi
Levi.
Maimon Amar.
Ne-
Thank you.
yes, okay.
Much
Um,
easier to read.
what happened after life and death? Um, I I have not done a target on that. So that is a good idea to do a target on
I
that.
would be very curious to do that one if I ever got good at it. I would.
Oh yeah, that would be, I mean, I've only done like go to a past life. So
Yeah.
maybe after death you I mean I have my own theories, but I
Yeah,
haven't used it
me
anymore.
too.
Yeah. So
But do
I
you have
have
one theory, or do you think it's just one kind of thing, or do you think it's multiple kinds of things? Determining the person, the actions, the
I kind of see it as in this life you have a mission,
Mhm,
and you have all the people in your life helping you to achieve that mission,
mhm,
whether it works or it doesn't work, everybody. So, some of the things that I learned is at a certain point in my life, there were friends and things like that where it was kind of like they became toxic, and you get to a point where you're like, okay, you did what you needed to do. We made a contract. You helped me get to this point. Now I have to let you go. And then you send them off with gratitude
right,
and and whatever. And then, but there are some challenges that you just don't accomplish in this life, and then
right,
you die, and then you have to come back and finish it. But I have a lot of speaking of the Hebrew, I have a lot of Jewish kind of education and thoughts that kind of back up a
got
lot of the things that I come up with. But I try to keep them, um, pretty much
right,
so everybody understands what the heck I'm talking about.
right,
But I think even in different words, it's pretty much all the same. Um, yeah, I just think that, yeah, I think that we're we're more than what we're more than this flesh and blood thing here,
Yeah.
and I think that people like you guys doing a show like this, people like the people listening to this show are
right,
all in the process of moving forward and pushing
definitely,
us to where we need to be. And sometimes I get really frustrated with the politics and the things going on in current events, and I'm like, there's so much more important things to be worried about than all
yeah,
this, like I
Right.
yeah,
just,
all the
yeah,
time. Who
yeah,
cares how big J Lo's butt is or whatever?
exactly,
That is so nothing.
right,
Like in the
right.
scheme of it, who cares whose handbag is last season? You know?
Exactly. I mean, even like 50 years from now, it's
Yeah,
just,
it's insequential. Yeah.
exactly. So, yeah. So I think I'm just like, that's why I love surrounding myself around people like you and the people I
Oh,
work with. It's like having a dream job because
right.
we all feed each other and, hold each other up, and, and I think, you know, I think, and for me, my thing is remote viewing, and everybody else has their thing. So I think just supporting each other and moving up and out and whatever is what we need to do.
It's
Right.
really
I
just a,
agree. And we're actually approaching the hour with you. And
Oh,
I appreciate you coming on in such short notice and filling in for a guest who unfortunately couldn't make it. And with that being said, if people wanted to find you, what are the best ways to find you?
So right here, boop, that's my website.
Other
Other
Is
side.
that,
way.
oh, it's not that way for you?
Yeah, go the other way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep,
It's-
that way.
there
Yep,
you go.
right there.
okay.
Boom. Yep. Okay,
It's
stop.
backwards for
Yep.
me. How about like this?
Right there. Perfect.
Okay. So that's my website. And there's a contact form in there and everything you need. Um, and it answers questions. You can sign up for the class. Everything's in there. And I'd love to hear from people. So please, reach out, ask me questions, and I hope that I will see you in our class.
Yeah.
Because yes, it was so nice to meet you, Michelle, and Michael.
Me too. It was
From
a blast.
typing. All
I
of
wish
you.
I had my laptop
Yeah.
because now I want to be like, ooh, I've got so many ideas. I just want to start pecking away.
Yeah,
But
please.
I'll
Yeah,
try.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny how much we talk behind the scenes, and it's like people don't realize what goes in with everything, and it's like it's kind of funny when you're like, yes, I got all of this to keep track of, and then it's like, so yes, I need to reach out to this person. It's like, did I? Didn't I? And it's
exactly. Yeah, I happen to be like overly uh overly probably organized, but that's the only way, to do a job like this. You really have to do that. You just,
Yeah.
So
right.
I'm
And
learning to be chill. So
See, I just
and
need someone like you so I can just be a little psychic hippie and just do what I do and not have to think about all the other stuff. I can just
yeah,
go out and tell people whatever happens.
yeah. Well, yeah, if you want us to help with stuff, let us know. And
We'll see. Definitely your class. We can start out with something like
yeah,
that.
for
We'll see
sure.
if
yeah,
Mike
and
wants to take it.
I have
Yeah,
to say, as a host of a show, having you doing what you do is so helpful because, I mean, so to explain that to people who may not be hosting and dealing with the publicist is when I reached out to her, she gave me a list of like a long list of names and what
You
topics
did
they
it.
talk about. And she's like, just let me know who and dates. And
Yeah.
so the fun fact is, I don't know who's scheduled for what date until she messages me and says, so and so's confirmed for this date, so and so's on this date. And I'm like, great. And then as
yeah,
I'm working things in the future, I'm like, I don't know this, I don't know who's on this one yet. And I'm like, but it's so fun because it's like I get to be surprised as everybody else is by the guest. And
one of our slogans is just show up and shine.
Yeah.
So we tell the client, I'm going to do everything. All you have to do is show up and shine. And then the host, I send you all their prep so that you're prepared and you have all the information. So you show up and shine. So, and that's why the name of the company is Leave It to Michelle. So it's LITM Media, Leave It to Michelle.
I
So
That's
love that.
great.
yeah, or live in the moment, or leave it to me, whatever you want. But yeah, that's the whole point is, and it was born, it was a crazy story how the company came to be is I was sitting in a circle with friends and, they're just like, Michelle, you're the kind of person that when somebody asks you to do something, you like get it done and we don't have to worry about it. And you should start a business like that. You should be like a fairy that makes people's wishes come true. And
Yes.
so and so that's what I do. I tell people, what is your wish list? Like when I talk to
Fairy
people,
godmother.
give me your wish list and I will do my best to make your wishes come true. So
Nice.
that's how it got born.
Yeah.
So
And I have to say, Michelle, as a host, the information that you give us in that docket
yeah,
is, oh my God, so helpful because
great.
you
Good.
give us talking points, so I know what I kind of have a feel of what topics they're into, the bio, and if the bio is really short, and I'm like, well, there's more to that. You give a little synopsis of them before the talking point, so it's like I can just keep feeding from here to
Yeah.
here and create a bio that I feel like people are like, when they read it, go, oh my gosh, this is really cool sounding, I want to listen to this. And
Yeah, exactly.
See, and he's always knocking me down. He's like, you can't do that. They've got publicists. I don't know what you can ask them. They have publicists. I don't know.
Yeah.
What? Stop. There's a publicist. I don't
right,
know.
she was asking me, she's like, I want to ask him about this, and this. And I said, here's the talking points. This is the
Well,
first
you know,
person
the
we've
thing
had.
is,
I don't know
no,
how
I'll
open
tell
they
you that
are.
the talking points are, they're like a safety net. You don't have to, you can ask your
See, they're
questions.
suggestions. They're like, this
Yeah.
is a good jump point.
Yeah,
See?
I
Yeah,
just,
yeah. It's
yeah,
because a lot of people don't want to be caught off guard and they want to feel like they can control the interview or, you
Right.
know, it is kind of scary to be a guest too, because you just don't know. Like if you end up on it, you know, I will never bring a, you know, bad host to my clients, but you know, they never know. Like
You never know.
I have to prove it to them that you know, I'm always going to bring, you know, good people to them. So I have to earn their trust too. So
Yeah.
well, I
yeah,
hope we did that for you.
Yeah. You were
yeah. Sure.
He's kind of more organized. I'm kind of
Yeah.
all over the place. I get
And
excited. I start wiggling and moving.
That's
So,
well,
okay.
and one of the things I didn't get the opportunity to do this with you is before the show, when we're in the backstage preparing, checking to make sure all the cameras are working, all the sound is coming through, is I always like to ask the guests, what is there any topic or anything that's off limits that you don't want us to bring up that's on this? Because like you're saying, as a host, I don't want to go, oh, so you mentioned this in your bio, and they're like, I really don't like discussing that, and you're like, oh man, I just stepped my foot into it.
Yeah, yeah.
right. Well, it was fun, and I'll definitely get a hold of you about the classes, and
Okay, thank you. I love it.
we can talk about.
Yeah. Jenny says there are no off questions if you are in the paranormal. All should be known, no guessing. And
Yep.
that's true to a degree. There are some paranormal experiences I have that I don't like to talk about. And so I don't share that often. So,
Well, I think that you can share it without giving the traumatic details. I think you can say, I did haunt, I did do this and this did happen. I don't think anybody, like, I think people think they have to give it all if they tell a story. You don't have to give it all. Act like you're talking to your mom. Give her the things that are important. And you don't have to tell all the dirty things, you just to keep the topic. So I think you could still share, Michael, but just not add all the trauma.
Yeah, filter it.
Yeah, filter
yeah,
it.
but some of it, like if I filter it out, it loses the paranormal aspect. And so
Yeah,
it's like,
you know what? When you're ready, you'll do it, you know, and if I think like sometimes telling some of the hard stories helps somebody, and that's
Well,
really
yeah,
important too.
for
and
someone like
that's
me,
that's true because like growing up in Bible Belt, it's like being able to channel. Man, you would be nailed to a cross for
oh,
saying I could channel
the only spirit they
and
believe in is the Holy Spirit.
other
But
stuff. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I've lost a lot of friends talking about gifts that I have.
then they weren't your friends.
And so you learn to be somewhat guarded and protected over what information you
Yeah.
open up with.
I have friends from every religion, every walk of life. If they really are your friend, then they'll stick with you. They just won't talk about it with you. They'll be like, let's talk about something else. So I think you were fine. It was just them that was wrong. So if that's you, stop being like that.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much,
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah,
bedtime.
thank you.
Yeah, it's bedtime here for sure. I have
Definitely.
to be up like at 2 a.m. for tomorrow for coast to coast.
Oh,
2
Wow.
yes.
a.m.,
Yeah,
2 to
different
4.
time zones. Ooh.
So. All
Oh,
right,
well.
guys.
Then I
Take
really
care.
do truly appreciate
great,
you coming
Michelle.
on in last minute.
I
Thank
love the
you.
double E, double L girls.
Yes, we stick together.
Yes,
All right.
definitely. It's
Take
great.
care, guys. Thank you
Bye
so
bye.
much.
Good night.
Thank
Bye
you. Good
bye.
night. Okay, and so
I'm so tired.
next week, what is
Yeah.
next week? Oh yeah, next week we are not having a episode live because of a family event going on, and so to make up for it, the following week we have a couple special episodes. So
Did you already send me all that? Because it's probably lost in text messages.
I emailed it to you, I believe,
Shit. Which email?
or probably sent it to you on Messenger, actually, Facebook.
Okay. Well, I will send you an email that I rarely get into, but I set it up for the paranormal. I'll send you that email, and if it's like futuristic things I need to know, that's the best place because we message so much, like shit gets buried, and
Yeah, I
it's
know.
like, and I can't get to it. So
Yeah. So next week for me, though, without having this show, on Wednesday, I will be co-hosting with my friend Andy Decodes in the UK, and we'll be interviewing Laura Eisenhower. And Thursday is a special episode of my special series, Riding Through the Unknown. And my guest is Tony Rodriguez. So that'll be a really fun and very cool show. I think you all will enjoy if you've been following along with that series. And then the following week, we have on Monday, the 11th, my friend Kathy Tierney Cogliano. She's going to be coming on the show, and we're going to be sharing our adventures in Egypt. And the next day is
the human pendulum was in when you went on that trip?
No, the human pendulum was in Mineral Wells. Egypt was on one of my birthdays. And we were in the King's Chamber and the Great Pyramid and Queen's Chamber and went to a bunch of temples and rode on the Nile on a cruise. And then the next night is Annette Luvano King, who runs Ghost and Getaways. So that'll be a really cool show. So stay tuned for those episodes. And what do you got coming up, Michelle?
Nothing. Babies, booze, bed.
All right. Well,
grandkids, stuff like
one
that.
of my little four-leggeds is saying it's time to go.
Definitely. Good night, everybody. Thanks for
Good night.
You have just listened to the energy that surrounds us with your host, Michael Koff. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode.